Hey guys, welcome back to Montavue. Today we're going to be finishing up our MontavueGO mobile series with part 3. Part 3 is going to be covering the extras such as the doorbell as well as the file system. And we're also going to be going over some settings just to make sure your guys' mobile application is working at its most efficient and doing what you guys need it to do. Alright, so starting off here, we're going to be looking at the doorbell selections for this application. Now I have installed a doorbell. As you can see here, it's listed on this main page. And in order to access the doorbell video, we're simply going to click on door up here next to live and playback. So if you have a doorbell added to your phone, once you press door, it should automatically bring up that doorbell. And just like the live view, we're going to get a lot of the same settings here. So here we can obviously extract a snapshot, footage, we can live record, but you're going to see a couple icons that don't appear on the other cameras. One of them being this little phone icon. Now, similar to the active deterrence two-way audio cameras, with the doorbell, we can actually call our doorbell. So typically when someone rings your doorbell, it's going to ring your phone and you're going to be able to enact the two-way audio functions automatically. However, it also works the reverse. If you press this little phone icon while you're on the live view, it will actually make a phone call to your doorbell, and then you can actually speak out of it without anyone pressing anything on the receiving end. And you'll see here, I had the doorbell set up downstairs, and I give it a call, and those guys heard me talking, so there's Jared right there jumping on. So it works great. You can generally hear pretty well, and the speakers are very powerful. To end that phone call, all you've got to do is press this little phone icon again, and it'll hang out. The other icon that doesn't look very familiar is this little lock icon. This is actually for another type of doorbell that we don't sell. As of making this video, this icon is not relevant to any Montavue camera, so you can pretty much just ignore it. Alright, so next we're going to cover the favorites section. So if we go back to the home screen next to door and live and playback, we're going to see favorites up top. So the favorites allows you to take cameras from multiple NVRs or multiple standalone cameras, and it allows you to compile them into an easily accessed group. So to create a favorites, we're going to click on favorites from the home screen, and since we don't have any created already, we're going to hit this little plus button in the upper right corner. And once we hit the plus button, it's going to show us any Montavue NVR or standalone camera that we have already added to the mobile application. Next, you're going to select any camera that you wish to add to the favorites list by highlighting the blue check to the right side. And for this example, I'm just going to do 3 cameras. You're allowed to do how many ever you guys want from multiple sources. But once you have them selected, go ahead and hit next. At this point, it's going to ask you to create a name for your favorites list, enter that name, and then hit completed in the upper right corner. This will solidify your favorites list and save it to the application for further access. In order to access the favorites, once you've created a list, go to the home screen, select favorites on top, and you'll be presented with all of your favorites lists that you've created. To play those cameras, simply just hit the play button, and it should play all the cameras that are within that favorites group. Once you've actually created a favorites list, you can go and edit it, such as adding other cameras to the favorites list or removing cameras from the list by clicking on details, and then the little plus button in the upper right corner will allow you to add further cameras to this list or remove them from the group. Alright, moving on from favorites, we're going to go over the file system and how to find your guys' exported snapshots and videos. So back to the home screen, this time we're going to click on File. You may even have to scroll to the right to find that, but it should be next to where you see Live, Playback, Door, Favorites, and then finally File. So once you see that, click on File up top, and it opens up at first all of your video exports. So as you can see here, it's pretty much listed by date, so it's in chronological order, and here you can basically choose which videos you want to look at again, or you can export them to the storage on your phone. Same thing with picture images, you just have to click picture up here, and any snapshots that you've exported will appear here in chronological order. Again, you can actually choose to export this to the main storage of your phone, and by exporting it to your phone, you're actually converting it to a file type that's more universally recognized, and that way you can send it in an email to somebody's computer or another type of file storage device. In order to export either a photo or a video, you simply have to press and hold on the image above. And once you do that, it's going to give you the option to select one or more videos or photos, and then it's going to give you these options at the bottom. The bottom left is the share button that'll allow you to email or instant message this straight from your phone. The save icon is just simply to save it to your storage on your phone. and then the trash can icon will be to delete that file permanently. Okay, the final icon at the very top of the home screen next to File, we're going to see Alarm. Now this is for the Alarm Hub. If you guys have your NVR or your standalone cameras attached with the alarm connectors in the back to something like a Brinks or an ADT system, it is possible to use this Alarm Hub to get notifications when those sensors are activated. The Alarm Hub here will help you guys arrange those alarms and determine when or not you guys are notified when those alarms are triggered. The Alarm Hub is a very rarely used portion of this app, so if you guys have more questions on this, feel free to call our tech support line if you guys ever get the alarm section going, and we can walk you through some of that stuff. Okay, for the final portion of this video, we're going to actually go over some settings and fine-tuning of different features of this application, just to make sure that it runs at its most efficient and it serves you guys the best way it can. So starting off, we're going to go to the home screen, and where we have our NVRs or our cameras listed there, we're going to see these 3 white dots to the far right. Now if you guys can find those, click on them, and we're going to go into the device details section. So quick breakdown of the device details section, we've got device configuration at the top. Once we click on this selection, it's going to give us some information about our NVR and how we have it set up. We've got the serial number, the device name, username, all necessary information for the NVR to be operational. So overall device configuration is mostly just giving you information about your NVR, but this page can actually be quite useful if you're not at home near the device and you need to do some troubleshooting. For instance, you can find your serial number here, your username, and even your device password. If you guys have forgotten your device password, you can actually click down here and you'll see this little eyeball symbol appear. If you click that eyeball symbol, it will turn those dots into what your actual password is. This way it can save you from having to do a full password reset on the NVR, which can be quite painstaking. It can be a nice backup for your guys' password just in case you ever forget it. So moving back to the device details screen, the next option we're going to see here is notification. This actually controls your guys' notification alarm hub, and we do go over this in some other videos where we teach you how to activate those notifications. Simply put, you just have to click notification here, turn it on, and depending on what type of notification you guys want to receive, whether it's a motion, sound alarm, tripwire, whatever it may be, you simply just have to click on that particular type of alarm and activate it for the particular channels that you guys wish to be notified for. Okay, back on the device details screen, the disable alarm linkage button. This is pretty useful for a one-stop location to turn off all notifications. So rather than turning off all your notifications one by one, if it's just overwhelming and maybe you're in a location or a spot where you just don't want your phone constantly going off, you can actually go in here and disable alarm linkage, and that will prevent any notifications from coming to your phone. Keep in mind, as long as this function is on, you will not receive motion notifications of any kind. So be sure to turn it back off when you guys are ready to start receiving notifications once more. Alright, the next setting below that is going to be the stream setting. Now this is pretty basic. Once you guys click this, you're going to have an option of your live stream setting or your playback stream setting. Now recommended for live is definitely going to be sub. This uses the sub stream, and what that does is it enables your guys' video to load at a very fast rate compared to the mainstream. Now, it is slightly lesser resolution, but it's not going to be noticeable on a 5-inch screen. So again, we recommend Substream for this. If you guys are pretty confident in your internet connections, you can use mainstream as your live viewing source. Just keep in mind that it may take extra time to load up. Just do it at your guys' own discretion. If you find that it's taking a long time to load the mainstream, please set it back to Substream just to make sure you guys get timely live views of your cameras. Alright, the next option here is playback. This always has to be in main. By default, your cameras record everything to the mainstream, so playback is only going to be found from the main source, which is your full 4K resolution or full 2K resolution. The exception to this fact is if you guys go into your NVR and manually choose to record your substream as well. I've had to do this for a couple of cases where somebody just had a really poor internet connection, so we chose to record his substream as well as his mainstream, and that way this particular gentleman was able to pull up his substream playback with very limited internet access. So again, reiterating these settings, you want live as substream and you want playback as your mainstream to ensure the best quality footage. Okay, next up on our device details screen, we're going to have remote configuration. What this does is it allows you to change settings on your NVR or your cameras from remote. You are fairly limited in what you can do, but this is going to allow you to change things like your recording plan, image adjustment, which means you can change the brightness levels, saturation, contrast of your cameras. It's also going to allow you to check out your storage and manage your hard drives from remote. And then also you can change some alarm settings and camera settings. So again, you don't have full control of your NVR from this remote settings page, but it is going to allow you to change a few things of your operation from remote. So this can be pretty useful. We always recommend making major changes from your NVR directly, but if you guys are in a pinch, you can always resort to this and it works out just great. All right, our final two options here are alarm output. Again, this is actually going to be dealing with an alarm system or an alarm center. These are very rarely used with NVR systems, and again, they largely rely on third-party devices. So alarm output is basically just going to control your two alarms that you have attached to this particular NVR or camera, and not much else besides that. Our final option here is other parameters. This option has to do with cameras that we don't sell here at Montavue. One instance I can think of is a wireless solar camera. Other parameters can be used to check the settings on those solar settings and to read the power levels. It's nothing Montavue sells, so it's likely you will never use the other parameters section, so it's best to just ignore it. All right, and finally, if you guys ever have the need to delete your NVR from the application, on the device settings screen, you're going to see delete device at the very bottom here in red. And it does exactly that. Once you click it, it'll ask you for a confirmation. Once you guys press OK, your NVR is no longer on your MontavueGO mobile application and will have to be re-added with either the serial number or the IP address. Okay, moving on from the device details, we're going to go back to the home screen and we're going to cover these bottom options here next to home. So the first one we see here is message. This is the message center. And this controls all of the notifications that you guys get from your cameras or your NVRs. So you'll notice here I've turned on my notifications for a few hours just so I could build some up. And any notification that your cameras capture and send over to your mobile device will be stored in the message center. This is nice for going back and viewing, and if you ever want to view the clips, all you got to do is go to the message center, click on the particular notification, and it should start playing the video that's associated with that notification. So personal and system messages up top. Personal will tell you anything that you've either added or deleted from this mobile device over all time, so it actually keeps a very detailed record. System messages will apply to devices that have been added to the account. We generally don't recommend this unless it's a doorbell, so you won't see any system messages for most setups. All right, moving on from the message section, we're going to click on the final icon here in the lower right corner where it says Me. So once we land on the Me page, aka the settings page, we're presented with a few things here. Now up top, it's either going to say E and then a weird number, and this was what indicates my account for online, or it's going to ask you to log in. Now I want to reiterate that we don't necessarily encourage people logging in because it's not necessary, and it actually makes adding an NVR slightly more complicated. So we always recommend people adding it to the local device, but if you guys have signed in, your sign-in details will be accessible from up top. All you've got to do is either click on that little profile image or the number there, and it'll take you to some options. It just has it so you can either log out, delete your account, or modify your password or email. Pretty simple stuff. Again, not necessary to log into this application. In fact, we actually discourage it. So don't really worry about this. If it's asking to log in, it's better if you don't. Next option, we're going to click on setting. And here, just to give a quick little breakdown, PTZ speed, this is how fast your PTZ moves when you're controlling it with the onboard controller on the app. It's going to default to 5, which is my preferred, but you can go all the way up to, I believe, speed 8. Next up is capture mode. What this is actually saying is how many snapshots per trigger event are taken. So you can choose between 1, 3, or 5 snapshots. And again, anytime motion or tripwires occur, your camera takes a snapshot per event. However, you can make it do 3 snapshots or 5 snapshots. By default, it will be set to 1. Next up is your NR setting. This stands for noise reduction setting. And it's best to keep this at the maximum level. Noise reduction keeps your guys' images looking nice and clean, and it prevents the image from becoming staticky, especially at nighttime. So noise reduction is always a recommended setting to have at the maximum level. Okay, next up is hard decoding. Essentially, hard decoding is giving your phone's ability to produce slightly better quality images for the sub stream. So you guys can choose to have this active or not. It actually doesn't make that large of a difference, if anything noticeable at all. When I activated it, the difference was negligible and I couldn't really tell. It doesn't really use up any more speed or processing power, so you guys can either have this on or off. Keep in mind, if you do turn it on, you start to experience some slow loading times or anything weird, come back to this and just turn it off just to make sure everything's going to work efficiently. Okay, next we have pushed video delay. This one's actually quite useful. Technically by default, it's only going to be at 10 seconds. And what pushed video delay is it's how long your video is from every notification that you receive. So for instance, if somebody goes over your tripwire in your front yard and you click on the notification, it's only going to play a 10-second video. However, if you move the push to video delay to 30 seconds, let's say, and then you click on that notification, it's going to play a 30-second video, including up to 10 seconds before the event happens, and then hopefully about 10 seconds after the event happens. That way, you can see a little bit more of a complete video, and your notifications are a little bit more informative to you guys. So this last choice, password protection, what that does is it creates a 2-layer protection for the mobile application. Now, most people have a password just to access their phone in general, but password protection will create a password needed to access this application specifically. So if you guys are worried about somebody getting a hold of your phone, and then of course they can do some damage if they were to access this app with malicious intent, they could turn off your guys' recording schedule for your cameras, effectively telling them to not record anymore. So there are a few things that are worth protecting on this app, and password protection adds a little bit double layer security for that. And again, it effectively requires a password in order to access the app by itself. Next one we're going to go into from the Me menu is General. So autoplay when not in a Wi-Fi network, just because our cameras are pretty data heavy, they can occupy a lot of data very quickly. So by default, generally the app is set to not allow viewing and playback when you're not in Wi-Fi. So you have to come in here and make sure you select this so that if you guys are on your data plan, this is going to allow you to load those cameras notifications when you're out and about, and it's not going to require you to be on a Wi-Fi network. So pretty handy thing there. Next, you're going to see notification. You might only see this option if you guys are logged into an account. Basically, it does the same thing that the other setting does, where if you have it on or off, it's going to determine the period that you can receive your notifications. So if you guys don't want to get bothered in the middle of the night, you can set your period from, maybe 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and anything outside those hours, you guys will not receive notifications for. Next up is appearance mode. This one's pretty straightforward. It's basically choosing between light and dark mode. My setting is automatic, so it just reads whatever my phone is currently set to. And some phones actually have the ability to change between light and dark mode depending on the time of day. So this would actually allow the app to move with those settings. So if it was daytime, it would actually appear in day mode, and nighttime would appear in night mode without actually changing it every time. So it's a pretty cool little setting depending on what your phone's capability is. So appearance mode, again, light and dark mode. So the next option here, picture in picture, this one's kind of interesting. Basically, it allows you guys to view your live view or your playback in a small little window while also navigating through the rest of the application. So rather than being stuck on the live playback view and if you exit it, your video goes away, picture in picture will allow that video to play in a little tiny square in the lower right corner while you guys maneuver through the rest of the app and do whatever you got to do. Finally here, clear cache. Just like any other app, our app does require a tiny bit of memory in order to store certain things like settings and stuff like that. So if you guys ever have your app acting a little slow, or you maybe just want to go in through a restart and do a thorough cleaning, you can come in here and clear that cache, and that'll wipe out some temporary memory that the application is storing. All right, finally, back to the Me menu, we have Tool Manager. This one is not often used, but we do have the password resetting function. In the password reset video, we actually go over this, and it allows you to scan a QR code to reset your NVR's password. The Wi-Fi test tool will actually test to see if your phone has an accurate and efficient data signal in order to run these cameras. So that'll tell you if your Wi-Fi is strong enough to handle what the NVR is putting out. Finally, push notifications. This basically tests to see if your phone is working with push notifications. There's other ways to test it, but a few useful tools here on this page. Alright guys, finally, region, this is just United States or whatever country you guys may be in. It's just showing what your region is. And then help it about, we'll just tell you a few little extra details about our applications. Alright guys, that about concludes our MontavueGO mobile walkthrough series. If you guys have any questions about what we covered here, or any of our other Montavue products, feel free to reach out to our tech support line. We're here Monday through Friday to answer any questions you guys have. As always, I really appreciate you guys checking out the Montavue videos. Please feel free to like and subscribe. You guys have a nice day, and thank you for choosing Montavue.